brothers and sisters, as you may have heard by now, public masses have begun here in the Archdiocese of Detroit. We had our first public mass this past Tuesday, and we're getting ready and looking forward to everyone coming back this weekend. There are a number of conditions, directives, and guidelines that have been issued by the Archdiocese, and I've put a link to them up here if you want to check them out. And we've worked very hard to put them into practice. You'll notice many things are different, and some of it will take some time to get used to. So please be patient as we work through it all. There are a few things that are required by the Archdiocese. The first is that face coverings and masks are to be worn by the faithful in and around the church. Unfortunately, the parish only has a very few number of masks available, so everyone is asked to please bring something to use as a face covering, a scarf, for example, if you don't have a mask. If anyone can donate masks to the parish, it would be greatly appreciated. Those who are proficient in sewing might consider making masks for those who do not have any. The second is that the church must be cleaned and sanitized after every Mass. We need healthy volunteers to help with this. We would love to have 5 teams of 7 to 8 people to stay after Mass. Please contact Paula McCarthy if you'd like to volunteer. But because cleaning takes time, the Sunday schedule must be altered slightly. Masses on Sunday will be at 8 a.m., the Tridentine Mass, 10 a.m., and 12 p.m. Number 3, social distancing is to be practiced at all times. To help with this, we've marked every other pew with a green cross. Pews with green crosses are where you can sit. This will leave every other pew empty. We ask that there be 1 household per pew. For households consisting of 1 or 2 members, 2 households may occupy the same pew, provided that they sit at opposite ends. Also, red crosses have been placed on the ground to indicate where people may stand in line for communion, and crosses have been placed on the front kneelers to show where communion will be given. As always, keep your eyes fixed on the cross. Lastly, we are limited to 25% capacity. For us, that means about 100 to 110 people per Mass. That's less than what we normally had each of the weekend Masses. So in order to accommodate everyone, an additional Saturday evening Mass has been added. Saturday evening Masses will now be at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Other items to note: music. Because everyone will be wearing masks, it has been recommended that singing be kept to a bare minimum. And so, just as our practice has been for the organist or choir to sing the antiphon at communion instead of a hymn, the same will go for the entrance and offertory. So there will be no entrance, offertory, or communion hymns. And the parts that we normally sing, we will simply speak instead. In fact, it was also suggested that hymnals, missalettes, and everything else in the pews be removed to make cleaning easier, and that's what we've done. Altar servers. There is no altar server schedule at this time, but we will still need 2 servers at each Mass. So servers, when you come to Mass, please check in to see if servers are needed. Again, at this time, we will need only 2 servers at each Mass. For the Tridentine Mass, we will have 3 servers. Please follow the usual procedure for serving. Collection baskets will not be used. There will be collection boxes instead installed at each of the entrances where you may deposit your offering when you arrive at Mass. And by the way, just let me say thank you for continuing to support our parish. There will be no offertory procession. In other words, the gifts will not be brought up. We will continue to forego the sign of peace. The holy water fonts will remain empty, and the precious blood will not be distributed. On the subject of communion, this is certainly one area where a lot of patience will be needed. Because we can't have everyone line up in the aisles, like we normally do. We have to go a few at a time. That's why we have those red crosses on the floor. These are designated places where you can stand in line as you prepare to receive communion. When you reach the front, when you see an available station at the kneeler open up, then you can come forward. Obviously, please remove your mask just before receiving Holy Communion. Now, the faithful always have a right to receive Holy Communion on the tongue, and of course, in the extraordinary form, communion is always received on the tongue. However, if you are not comfortable receiving communion after someone who has received communion on the tongue, I would suggest one of two things. Either sit in the front and receive first, or you can receive after Mass. Simply remain after Mass and I will come to you. So that we don't have two lines in the aisle, I will distribute communion on one side first and then to the other. We will need one person to help with communion, first in the south wing and then going over to the north wing. Again, for each wing, one side will go first and then the other. Finally, just a word to anyone who is ill, caring for the sick, immunocompromised, or who considers themselves vulnerable. You are able to stay home. The faithful have been dispensed from the obligation to attend Sunday Mass until September 6, 2020. However, even with the dispensation, the obligation to keep Sunday as a holy day cannot be dispensed because this is a commandment of God. So even if one is unable to attend Mass on Sunday, the day can still be kept holy by watching the Mass on live stream. We will continue to do that. The Sunday 8 a.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. Masses will be live streamed. You can also watch the Mass on EWTN. You can also pray the Rosary. You can read the Sunday readings and prayerfully reflect on them. Or you can perform some act of charity or corporal or spiritual work of mercy. And I've put a link to those corporal and spiritual works of mercy up here in the corner. As you can see, this is not going to be easy. It may be frustrating at times, especially at the beginning, and even inconvenient. But these are all guidelines from the Archdiocese that every parish has been asked to implement as best as possible, and that's what we're going to do. So please be patient and understanding. Some of the things that we try are not going to work out, and we're going to have to adjust along the way. Bear with the inconveniences for now and encourage one another to do so as well. And above all, be grateful that we can all come together to give God the worship that he deserves. I look forward to seeing you all once again. God bless you, and let's continue to pray for each other.